Yo, YouTube. I was listening to something, somewhere. Honestly, can't remember quite what it was. But it was an old argument that really could have gone back 10 years, as in nothing much has changed since I first made my first YouTube video. On the surface, the conversation I was listening to was about free will. But it kind of developed into, are people always selfish? And I suppose it's the perennial sort of questions that most young people go round asking themselves. And it just seemed to me, from my vast experience of life, and especially this realm of thinking, that I thought I should try another bash at YouTube video making. One reason being that for a long time now, say a year, I've been listening to things on my ears. A year, it's a lot longer than that. Podcasts, downloading YouTube videos in MP3, audiobooks, a lot of audiobooks. If it's a year, it's more audiobooks than anything else. Filling my head with external stuff. But there's a reason for that, and I kind of understood the reason for that over the last week, where I have not put a single MP3 in my ear. Not for any particular reason, as life goes, it just happened that way. And I think I realised why I was doing it. When I started realising it about 5 days ago, it was that basically I don't like my own thoughts. Now that's a real conundrum type thing in any sort of normal thinking, isn't it? Well, it isn't, actually, no. To my way of thinking, it's odd, because I'm of the persuasion that there's no I. So what's the I that's unhappy with the thinking that's arising? It's really quite tricky. For most people, maybe, who believe that there is a controlling I type thing, then that controlling I is being normal and superior, and doesn't quite like the inferior thoughts that are being fed to it. Because it looks like I'm going to have to go back and explain the way I think most people think. And it's something like that, whereby there's the superior them, as I used to say, that sits on a throne. I'm sitting on a seat now, not very comfortable, I'm not used to sitting on seats. The I superior sits on the throne, and the minions come to the I with ideas, and then the I says, good idea, bad idea, go away, etc., etc. And that's a bit, I can imagine how that can easily arise in people. That kind of, they don't think that that's the way it is, it's just that that's the way they think it is, without thinking. It just has to be that way because there's an I, and there seems to be these thoughts like, should I have chocolate ice cream or should I have vanilla ice cream? The same things. And these are the minions that come with the idea, you know, a chocolate master chocolate, would you like chocolate? No, vanilla, because you remember the vanilla we had in da-da-da, and it was so nice. And then there's the I that sits on the throne and goes, yes, you're right, that was a particular good vanilla, it might be reproduced here, I shall have vanilla. And that is the way most people think, without thinking how they think. Where was I going? Oh, me and my ears. Yeah, it looks like I started to do a lot of MP3 listening because I was just not happy with my own thoughts. They weren't kind of, let's say, constructive enough. This is what I'm realising over the last few days. They're very rarely constructive. They're just blah blah da 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 blah da da blah, and terribly uninteresting and wanking around all over the place. Just garbage, really. So I'm not surprised that I increasingly went for listening to other things, what other people had to say. In a way, it'd be like the equivalent of me. I'm on my throne, and this minion comes through my ears, say doing a podcast, saying this, this and this, and I can then go, oh, that's rubbish, you're talking crap, absolute rubbish, go away, silly person, and then go on to another one. But this is why I kind of gave those up, because that's what often it came to. And I went to audiobooks, and if you're listening to an audiobook, there's no point dismissing it really. You might as well just get on with your life with this strapped to your ears, and you get on, you do your gardening, listening to an audiobook, and at the end you can say, oh, that was nice, or that was rubbish. But generally, if you're sensible enough and you've chosen well, the audiobooks are entertaining, sometimes educational, often educational, because even if they're non-fiction books, they're about fact. Even if they're novels, they can inform about human interactions, etc. Anyway, I wasn't going to talk about this in this video at all. What was I going to talk about? Oh, these people that were on about... it was that Mother Teresa came into it again. And was she being selfish by doing things for other people? And the thing that came to me was, it's using words to describe what she did, and the words that you're going to use as descriptors of what she did are your understandings of what those words mean. That is to say, it's an interesting intellectual discussion for a young person to have. But perhaps I would like them to move it on to more how the brain works to achieve this effect. In other words, what is the brain doing to make the body do something that other people will label as angry or selfish or selfless or wonderful or not. And it brought me back to a concept that I used called metaconcepts, where I believe that the brain has a stack, I see it in my mind as a pyramid, of metaconcepts, whereby the top of the pyramid metaconcepts, 2 below, and then is it 4 below that? Yeah, it must be 2, 4, 8, etc. Depending on the shape of the pyramid. But that sort of thing, the top metaconcept, which could be, it's often things like God, and that spins off things, or strangely it's things like I must do my duty, or family first, or career first, or get laid first. It can change obviously, but if it's at the top, what I believe the brain does is, if it's got any sort of decision to make, which it's always got decisions to make, and so I'm saying that all decisions that a person appears to make, in other words a brain does, goes through this metaconcept system, whereby the top of the pyramid at that particular time comes with a crunchy amount of weight, points, that go on the scale or are added up, and the second two, quite a lot of points, but not as much as the top one, but more than the row below of 4, which can come in. And I believe that if you really have to make war, classic example, let's go to war, and even the jumping on a grenade, which came up. If you jump on a grenade, having it labelled as selfless or selfish is probably not going to do you any good. You've got to work out why this person jumped on a grenade. And I think it would be because the meta-concept at the top had an awful lot to do with it. If it was in a war situation, it would have been do your duty to king and country, queen and country, state, republic, whatever it might be. Or if you've been in, I don't know how these army people work, but they take young people and twist their brains and make their meta-concepts work well for doing an army role. It might be protect your comrades, or get their back, or whatever it is, or the troop, the whatever smaller unit you're fighting with, as opposed to for, might be more important. It might not be queen and country, that might drop down to the second row, and F troop might be the primary big point scorer at the top. But ultimately, whether it's choosing an ice cream or deciding whether to look after dying people in Calcutta or whether to jump on a grenade, everything will always be referred to this Nick made up, but some sort of brain equivalent pyramidical thing where things at the top come with big points, big weight, and as it goes down you get lesser influences, and at different times obviously the pyramid changes. Where are we now? So, time to wrap things up. I think it would be more constructive, instead of learning labels, in other words, this person did that, can we agree that the actions done we can label as selfish or heroic or whatever. In other words, we're learning to use labels. It's at a certain time more constructive to work out how the brain works to actually make those actions appear, so then they can be labelled. And the pyramidical idea of certain ideas at the top, which the army will teach you, they'll certainly get their idea up to the top to make you a good army person or a school person, you get you there, and etc. You've got the idea of that. If a decision needs making quickly, then 1 stroke top 3, maybe 4 will definitely do it. If it's one of those that doesn't need to be made quickly and you can afford to go down through, then you get, it's so complicated or it's not balanced enough. If the top 2 or 3 have really tipped the scales this much, the brain will know that all the rest added up aren't going to tip it even, and the decision can be made immediately. Vanilla, help this snotty-nosed Calcuttan kid, or jump on a grenade. It's probably, jump on a grenade's probably done just with your top concept. So from this video, if there's a take in practical life, don't worry about learning what to label things people do with various words. It just leads to arguments for the rest of your life, and I know what it means to be selfish, or it's just worrying what the labels have got written on them. Not that important. Have a think about, at various times of your life and in various situations, what your priority pyramid actually consists of, because that is what the brain, which calls itself you, will use to make decisions that it will call your decisions in what it will call your life. That's it. Thank you.